So by now, I'm sure you guys have heard the news. MXPX has released our new record. So it's available on Apple Music, Spotify, Google Play, Amazon, iTunes, everywhere. I think it's even on Tidal. Pretty sure Tidal is part of everywhere. So I'm grateful. There's been so much love sent. Tom C's pissed because promoters keep bothering him. But that's a good thing, right? That definitely is a good thing. People want to book us. Yes. MXPX shows coming up in Dallas on September 7th and Austin, Texas on September 8th. Tickets at MXPX.com. Go get them. They're still available. More dates are coming. Yes, we're planning more things, international things, more dates. We're just going to roll things out our way. So stay tuned. We will keep the fun. All right, you guys. So today I'm going to share with you guys a special story, a special conversation that's 100% about MXPX, 90% about the new record. Do you guys remember AbsolutePunk.net? It's Jason Tate created and ran this website for its lifetime. And it became a massive place for news in our world, you know, for what felt like really the whole ride of our genre. And now he continues what used to be that site on his new site, chorus.fm. And we don't get into that too much, but maybe we can on another episode, part 2 maybe. Jason is a self-employed man. Just like me, he lives a roller coaster lifestyle, figuring out how to, you know, make a living doing what you love. It's that creative process. And anyway, this is not about that. This is about MXPX. We actually, you know, we talked about doing less press for the record. You know, we looked at what others were doing, decided let's not do that. Let's do less of that and do more meaningful interviews that are going to have a greater impact. So we specifically chose Jason. You know, we asked him, hey, would you come and interview me and talk about the history of MXPX and this record? And he was on board. So he said yes, and I appreciate that. So we go full nerd here. And this is for the people who want more info about the songs. Jason, I appreciate you doing this, man. It really was a great conversation. You did the research. It was genuinely fun. I had a great time, and it was everything I was hoping it would be, you know. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Jason Tate about the release of our new record. Enjoy.
This is. Yeah. So are you up in Bremerton right now?
I'm in Bremerton, Washington. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Okay. Just didn't know. I saw that you were potentially moving in Texas. Is that right? Did I see that?
Yeah, I'm in both spots. The family's in Texas right now, and I'll be back and forth. You know, doing MXPX gigs up here and all over. So
awesome. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's start by talking about the new album then. How was your night? You played the whole album in full last night on Facebook and then released it to the world.
Yeah, we're over the moon. We're so excited about the new songs, and just it's a relief to get them out. Mm-hmm. So we did this live stream. You know, we always wanted to make a live record. Mm-hmm. That was my thought from day one, is I wanted to sound like we're in the room together. Mm-hmm. And as we started, you know, putting songs together in practice with the guys, I would sit there and just talk about how, guys, I want to be able to play this record front to back. And early on, Tom Chichila and I had an idea where we were going to put on a show before the record was even out, put on a show for like, you know, for a handful of people, fans, and record the record live. And we're like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't do that. But it was just like, you know, if you dream big, you figure out what it is that will work.
Yeah.
And you know, just that idea alone, even though we didn't actually do it exactly like that, mm-hmm. we kind of did a different version of it with the live stream, mm-hmm. playing the full album front to back on the internet. Anybody can watch it for free. And it was, you know, it's kind of like, this is how the record sounds. And then you listen to the actual recording, and it's gonna sound way better, of course, better quality, but it's all there. All the bits and pieces are there.
Yeah, so when you all got together to record this album, tell me a little bit about the start of this and how the entire thing came together. Because for me, just as a fan, first and foremost, it seems like the band's having fun again. You can hear that in the songs, but it seems like MXPX is enjoying being MXPX again for maybe the first time in a while. So how did the entire process of starting with You guys took a little bit of hiatus. You were doing the MXPX All-Stars for a while. And then, what was it, 2016, you guys did the Life in General thing again. And then what led up to creating this album?
Well, it was, I think the Life in General thing was in 2013.
No, well, I'm super bad at it.
That's okay. Yuri wasn't playing much after that for a couple years. And Tom kind of came back for a show. We were doing 20, it was our 21st, like 21 year show. Okay. So that was 2013, I think.
Yeah.
And
that sounds right.
The idea that he was like asking us, "Hey guys, can I come up and play with you?" Like, what are you, crazy? This is your band. Yes, come up and play. Let's do this. Because there was just, it's not like MXPX never broke up. We just didn't do much for a little while, and I was just grinding. But it was good to have that separation. I think for those guys, for me, everybody, having that feeling of this is what life is like without each other. Which is, life is okay, whatever, we can figure it out. But once we kind of like came back together, it really clicked really fast, really quickly. And the shows were just easy and fun, and everybody was having a great time. We looked at each other backstage, and we're just like telling the same jokes we've always told, and it really made sense to, and I had a couple songs I had been working on, but I hadn't really thought, we're doing a record now. Like, I wanted to do a record for years, but it wasn't the right time. Okay. We had to build that camaraderie, the real life experiences that you need as a writer, I think, to really pull something out that makes people think twice about it,
Yeah, definitely.
And like it can be too much, So like, I think all these experiences with the guys, MXPX, having Tom and Yuri back, was a big catalyst of why I started writing the way I was writing. And we were doing shows, and they're selling out, and it's just boom, boom, boom. People are excited. We're getting a lot of feedback online, and, there's been a huge resurgence of fans really supporting the band with additional content out there on the web, that kind of thing. Like back in the day, back in the chat room days, those well.
Yes.
Back in those days, there was a lot of fans that would like contribute content, but it was different. Like, we didn't have memes back then. We had, fan web pages and things like that, right? Like a full
I ran one.
Yeah. We should talk about that. I mean, like back, when you did absolutepunk.net, right?
Yes, correct.
That started out because of your love of punk rock music, obviously.
Yes. I mean, it started with, I think it was Slowly Going the Way of the Buffalo, one of the songs. It might have been It's Okay on the radio. And the first time I heard that, I was just like, is this like a new Green Day song? What is this? Like, and had no idea what was going on. Started like trying to figure out who the band was, because it was at the time at the radio, they don't tell you like who's playing. And it wasn't like I could like just pull up Google, which basically didn't exist or whatever at the time, and search for it. So I remember like trying to figure out who the band was, and then I found that album at a Christian music store like down the street from me. And it was just like, blew my mind at the time of just being like, what? I have never heard anything like this. I was listening to like Pantera, Metallica, like stuff like that at the time, and had never really walked into that world. And MXPX like opened that door. So it was MXPX, Blink-182, and then when I started listening to those bands, it just opened everything up. And the first concert I actually ever went to was you guys and the Ataris. And I think a band like called Short Sighted, maybe, here in Portland. And I saw that show, and that was my first like experience into like quote like punk rock world, and that changed everything for me. It was wall to wall packed. Everybody was like pushing up against each other. People were falling down and getting picked back up, and that was just like that cool camaraderie and the community aspect of it just like drew me in. And it was like no looking back from there. I wanted everything. I was poring over liner notes to try to find new bands to listen to, new things to listen to, and was just basically obsessed from then on. And
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
No, I was just saying that that's kind of like the origins into the MXPX like world. I mean, I remember you guys had a fan club back in the day where you could like send in, I think you had to like fill out like mail orders sort of stuff to send in things. But I like seeing that resurgence now with, it feels like the MXPX fan base with doing this on the Kickstarter and like retapping into the internet, really has brought out a lot of these fans that we always knew were there, but it seemed like for a while other bands kind of had taken over what the internet and like music is. And it's cool to see MXPX fans online. I saw you guys retweeting all this stuff last night, of people getting the new album, listening to it, and that whole vibe just feels, I don't know, refreshing, I guess, in 2018 where everything else kind of sucks. It was nice. Right. It was kind of nice to see everyone like experiencing the album for the first time, talking about it, and getting to have that entire experience. The album didn't leak early. You guys sent it out. So it wasn't like a few people hearing it, reviews coming out, like the usual process that music goes through these days. This kind of feels like it sidestepped all of it, but it feels special because of that. Was that intentional for you guys to like try to bring it all together and back to the fans? Or what was your mindset through that?
Great question. It was absolutely intentional. We knew we wanted to do something completely different than your traditional record release through a record label, that kind of thing. And, we didn't necessarily, our options were somewhat limited. We can't go to fly to the North Pole and do a show or whatever, but cool idea. So, I mean, like I say, going back to, we wanted to make a live record. We wanted this to feel real. We wanted this to feel like you're in the room with the band and there's no one else there. And, so like all our experiences with the Kickstarter, the MXPX house party, studio party we had here, people got to listen to the full record all the way through in the room we recorded it in. And so it's just like, for us, it's about blending everything we're doing now, which has got a lot of energy and a lot of momentum and a lot of experience behind us, taking that and blending it with the nostalgia of all your memories, all the listeners over the years, all the family that has become the MXPX family. It's blending those things together. That's what we really wanted to do with this album and with the release, sort of like saying, this isn't about the industry. This isn't about the hype or the promo or the propaganda. Like, it's all about the MXPX bringing this music to the fans that have been here. Maybe you weren't here from day one or day 7, day 9, whatever it is, you're here. We appreciate you. We hear you. We're just loving life, and we're loving being able to make the kind of music that we love.
Absolutely. So I want to talk a little bit about the recording process itself. Did you recorded it yourself and then Casey Bates helped engineer it, or like were you guys doing most of the self-production?
Yeah, that's an easy one. I mean, we produced ourselves, but we hired Casey Bates to come in and engineer and mix and be the guy behind the board, like the technical side.
Gotcha.
And obviously, also, there's a lot of work involved in that. Like we took a lot of work off our shoulders by hiring Casey to come in and do it. But as far as like the songs themselves and the performances and it was all like when Tom recorded a guitar part, he would listen back and go, "Yep, okay, good." And every now and then I might go in and be like, "Hey, could you like do that or something a little different?" But like for the most part, we kind of produced ourselves. When it came to vocals, everybody was just like, "Yeah, that's a good vocal." I'm the worst on myself. Like I'll listen to a vocal back, and I'll be like, "All right, I'm gonna redo this," or "I'm gonna redo that verse," or something just isn't enough. And I don't know that I've done that. I definitely have done that. Like I did that on Plans Within Plans, but it was definitely different this time. Like it was like the work was already done. We were in practice, really just recording every practice, listening back to how it sounded, and because of that, it really made the production part of it really easy. Like the decisions were made. Now it's just like, does it sound like it did in our heads and in practice?
So did you come to the band with some songs for MXPX already pre-written and you knew like this is kind of what I want the album to sound like, or was it more of a collaborative process of coming together and refiguring out what MXPX should sound like in 2018? And how did you decide what that should be? Like walking between nostalgia and like the band that you guys have been since, what, 1994, up into doing major label albums and having popular songs. How did you try to figure out what MXPX should be here in 2018?
Yeah, that's a good question. There was a lot of doubtful nights along the way, but it was about picking the right songs that we felt like, okay, these we can stand behind right now, and in 10 years time, we'll probably, like, I feel like I'll feel good about it. There's been a lot of songs in our past that I'm just like, I'd rather divorce from, so, but that's okay. It's like you grow as a person, you change. Yeah. And I think with this new album it's telling people the sentiment of MXPX hasn't changed, but we as people we've developed, we've grown. I'm not saying like we're better people, we're just different people, right? Like, and I feel like that's reflected in this too. Like it's, like I said, we're marrying like the present and the past in just the right ways. I feel like you'll have a sense of nostalgia when you listen to the songs. Like it sounds like our other stuff, but hopefully, I mean, to me, it sounds better. It sounds exactly how I wanted the mix, and there's enough, the bass tones and like everything, like the bombastic drums. So to get to your question a little bit more pointedly, our normal process hasn't changed that much. We did this record how we've always made records in the past, but we just took it multiple steps past that process. Okay. And what I mean by that is I write a song in my bedroom, whatever it is, it could be anywhere, here at the studio on acoustic guitar, and I'm writing the lyrics, I'm rewriting the lyrics. I'm like, I don't like that chorus. I come up with a better chorus. I record a crude version of that on my acoustic with singing, and everybody can go, okay, I can hear how this is going to sound a little bit with MXPX. Okay. Is this going to be fast? Is this going to be mid-tempo? So I have the demo. I send it out to everybody on the phone. Like, this is modern times. Like, I didn't do this back in the day because we didn't have phones, but you send it on your phone. Like, I just group text everybody a demo, audio demo. They listen to it, or sometimes they don't listen to it. We show up in practice and we try it out. If it clicks right away, it's almost always like, okay, yeah, this is an MXPX song. Sometimes we got to work a little harder on it, but going into like writing and all that, the basics of the song are almost always written. Okay. And then I will sometimes take something that we've worked on and rewrite it, or fix something or whatever it is. But the guys, just like when they play, like when Yuri plays what he plays, and then we tell him like, okay, add a fill going into this, so it announces the chorus. We give them like ideas and stuff, but like we're like, just do something that you're comfortable with, and we'll just tell you if we don't like it. Like that's kind of the process for drums. It can be frustrating at times, but I think most things are if you're working hard on them. With guitar parts, it starts out pretty basic. I usually have a riff written. Almost always I have like melodies and riffs written. Every now and again we'll Tom will come up with something that I hadn't written, or Chris, same thing. Just like Yuri does fills that I didn't like tell him do that. But it's a great process because a lot of the heavy lifting's done, like the words, the melodies, the chord progression. And then now it's like, okay, let's change this a little bit. Like I wrote it this way, but like I'm just going to rewrite this to make it fit better with I feel like what we're playing now that I hear it together. So like it's such a trip because you hear something in your head. I'm writing something. I'm like, this is totally what it's going to sound like. Yes, this is a jam, dog. This is a jam. Whoa, whoa, whoa. And then you get into practice and sometimes it's just so lame, but other times you hit the nail on the head and you're just going for it. Like everybody feels that energy, and that's what we're really looking for.
Gotcha. That makes sense. I think that's one of the things that this album brings out, in my opinion. It has a youthful energy to it. And it feels, I don't know, not a lot of bands, especially doing the whole like pop punk, punkish sort of thing these days, are willing to play as fast as this album feels on first listen. Like it feels like a fast mid-90s, like almost skate punk album in places. And I think that's exciting. Like to feel that energy again from the band. It's something that, I mean, I liked Plans Within Plans, okay, but it never felt the same to me. It never felt like it had that same punch behind it that this album does. Do you have any idea where you feel like that came from? Like why this album feels like it feels more exciting in a sense?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of reasons. One, the most basic is the band back together, playing constantly live together. When you have that energy going into the practice room and you got a new song, it completely changes everything. Rather than Plans Within Plans was a studio album that everybody came in on a scheduled basis where the songs were already laid down. So like I did the demo, the template, boom, boom, boom. All right, Yuri came in, did his drums. Tom came in and did his guitar. So like it was layered together, like kind of like a pop record would be, and that's why there's not as much feeling. I mean, the songs are good, but the feeling isn't. They are on the tape, living like things have memories, like walls have memories in a studio that you go into like 100-year-old house and you feel weird and creepy. Like that's why this record feels like it does, because it actually has memories to it. It has real life happening.
Makes a lot of sense. So I want to talk a little bit about the album itself and go through some of these songs because there's 11 here, so there's not too many to get through. But I think it's fun to do. What was it? Secret Weapon? How many tracks are on that? 17, something like that.
I have no idea. It's too long. All of our records are too long.
This one's perfect. 31 minutes. You get in, you get out. Like I love that about this. It feels like, again, as I said, it feels like a throwback to some of those earlier punk albums that like 30 minutes is a perfect length for something like this. So you start with Rolling Strong. And what led to this one being the starting track on an album? I'm obsessed with artists. I'm obsessed with artists picking what's the first and the last track on an album. I don't know why. It's just a thing I've always been like just drawn to. So I'm curious why this is track one.
Okay. I got to tell you one word. Well, two words. Tom Wisniewski. He's the reason why this is track one, because from day one, he was like, this is the first song. And we're like, I don't know. Like, it doesn't really represent, like, the full album completely, but it is badass. Like, it's blazing. And we went back and forth, actually. Like, I remember being in DFW airport on the phone in between flights somewhere, and I was talking to Tom Wisniewski and Tom Chichila about what the track listing is going to be, and like I had my ideas, they all had theirs, and we were talking specifically about Rolling Strong. And ultimately it was like, okay, as long as these first four songs, these songs are the first four, which ultimately Rolling Strong, all of it, Friday Tonight, Let's Ride. I was like, I'm happy. And then moments like this, that was another kind of like, actually every other song on here except Rolling Strong was my idea, or maybe Tom C was like, yeah, flip one or whatever. But I was really happy going into the sequence, and then Rolling Strong was like, okay, I'm gonna give you this one. And in retrospect, I feel like it's great. Like it feels perfect. So
yeah, I think it does set up the theme to the album a little bit. I mean, there's the Weekend theme that's in there that kind of comes back a few times, and it does remind me of Life in General, Ever Passing Moment a little bit. It's fast, but it has a lot of melody to it, which I think is great. Where in the writing process did this one come? Was this an early song? Was this later in the process?
Rolling Strong?
Yeah.
Rolling Strong was actually pretty early in the process. Okay. I would say all of it was probably the first song I wrote for this record, if I'm remembering correctly. And then Rolling Strong was fairly up there. I had this idea about 3 a.m. on a Monday, and it was a different kind of song until I like came up with the bass line, and then it like started taking off for sure. So,
and that does seem like that's something that comes back in the album. There's quite a few songs that reference days of the week, the weekend, getting to the weekend and enjoying the weekend, and then having to go back to work on Monday. Is that just from growing up and like being a little bit older now? Do you relate to that, or like where did that come from?
I think it's like I think everybody relates to that. I don't think anybody can not relate to that, and that's probably why it just seemed natural to write those words. And I'm living my insane experiences with MXPX on weekends a lot these days. Flying out for shows, playing to big crowds, going across, Jakarta, playing for huge crowds in Jakarta, Indonesia, like Japan. And so like it was a feeling and that's I think why I wrote on the weekends. Like when I write, it's not. Yes, sometimes it's literal. Like when I'm like writing some weird lyric, it's probably like some weird thing I thought of because I'm literally like experiencing it or thought of it in my past or something. But for the most part, like, yeah, when I talk about weekends, it's like it's about invoking a feeling. It's about that weekend feeling. I mean, sure, I every day for me is like a Saturday, but I work Saturdays.
Yeah, exactly.
Weekends to me are work. I love it. I love work. Let's go.
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay, going from there, we go into All of It. This is another one that's really fast-paced and plays off of the first one, which I enjoy. Great bridge. I'm curious where the bridge to that song came from.
I don't know. I don't remember writing this song except for like at the beginning I wrote some of the lyrics changed. But you know, the whole catalyst of this song was my daughter. She's 5 now, and at the time she was probably, you know, about 4, like almost 4 or something. And so I picture a 3-year-old, cute as hell, and she'd go like, and she'd be like, "Do you know how much I love you, Daddy?" And I'd be like, "How much?" And she'd say, "All of it." And I was just like, and
That's
she would
adorable.
do that. Yeah, it was like a phase that she went through, and I had to write a song. You know, it's like, how do you? It's so simple, all of it. Yet to me, it has like such a personal connection that, you know. But you know, I'm not gonna. It's like with the lyrics, it's a little bit more general as far as like it's not just about my daughter. It's about my wife and about my love for life and everything. So
yeah, it's great, and it's a cool callback in that chorus. Just the way that it comes across, it's catchy and so simple, which is fascinating to me. Like it's impressive to do something like that. All right, from there we've got Friday Tonight, which the first time that I heard this one, it starts out, it's cool, and then it gets to that the Friday reference in the middle of it from the movie, talking about the kitchen and the fridge, and I was like, "Whoa, what is this?" Does this have an explicit tag on it on iTunes? A couple of the other ones do, I think, but I don't remember if this one specifically does. But it felt like it was the first. Is this one of the first times you guys have sworn in a song?
I guess so, if you call it swearing, sure. I mean, I feel
goddamn
like
right?
it's just like cable speak. I feel like we're in 2018 and it's not a big deal anymore. But
Yeah.
it's not like the F-bomb or like a racial slur or anything like that. It's just it's the way. It's the only way I could do that. I mean, it would literally be like that song doesn't exist if that part isn't in there.
Yeah, so where'd that come from? Like, what's the theme and thought process behind this song, and including that reference, and like, what's that? It's built around that. So where'd that start from, and how did it get there?
That's a good question. I was writing this song, and when I write, things pop into my head. It's funny because I don't listen. You were mentioning like other pop punk bands and I don't listen to music when I write. I don't listen to other. I absolutely don't listen to other punk bands or pop punk bands. Like I don't listen to anybody. So maybe I'll hear a Beyonce tune or something on the radio. Like I'm not listening to it. So when I write, it allows these crazy things to happen, and I just let it happen. So I don't know why I wrote that. It just felt like that's where the song was going. And then like once that part became that part, I was like, dang, there's something to this. Let me keep going. And I kept going, and you know, you hear the bridge and all that. But yeah, there's no like devious reason why that part is there. It's just like that's the song, and that's what everybody's latching onto. Like from day one, you know, if I'd let anybody listen to a song or that song, they would remember that part. So it's like, well, it's like I didn't choose this, but it appeared in my mind and I wrote it, you know?
It's insanely catchy. It's crazy. It's awesome. That one feels like a track 3 too. That definitely feels like it fits right there on the in the track listing. Like,
yeah. And it's a quote from the movie. I mean, we used to listen to the movie, watch the movie all the time on tour. And I remember watching that movie with these guys, you know, over and over and over. And I've watched that movie as many times as we've probably watched Cable Guy or Star Wars or, you know, something crazy like that. Or The Big Lebowski, right? So I've used a lot of movie quotes in song. So I feel like that's just another one we used to watch all the time, and it came into my brain.
That's awesome. Does this one feel like something you'd play live? Like, would this be a live staple at some point?
Yeah, we've played Friday Tonight twice live already, and so we'll be playing it at the shows. Come Friday, Saturday, let's go.
What other songs on the album feel like they should be in the set list now? You guys have a massive discography. Is there anything else from this album that you feel like has to be played live, that like needs to be in there?
Oh, well, Let's Ride, of course.
Yeah.
That's the next track we're talking about. Let's Ride, Rolling Strong, those two. I would say Friday Tonight's perfect. And from there, I mean, honestly, like, whatever. It just depends on what people like. I'll play. You know, we can play them all. So,
how do you get people's feedback from that? Is that just like you checking online, looking at Twitter, seeing what people are saying, trying to figure out like what people are responding to?
Yeah, I mean, the obvious like squeaky wheel gets the oil, but yeah, and if we play something live and nobody likes it, then we try a different one.
Okay, so if I want to lobby people to get you to play Life Goals, they should just tweet at you constantly and say Life Goals should be in the set list from now on.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. If people are going off when we play Life Goals, we'll keep playing it.
Awesome. All right, into that we go into Let's Ride, which I think Let's Ride is probably one of the highlights of the album, in my opinion. It's extremely well written, and I love the way that it kind of like walks through. Is it your life and the life in the band? It feels very personal and very autobiographical. Is it?
It's everyone's life.
Okay.
I mean, you know, it's like it's more about capturing the essence of. It sounds weird to say essence, but the essence of like the average MXPX fan, where whether you're a guy or girl, you're experiencing this band and this music at a time where you're experiencing a lot of things for the first time. Life, romance, parents, friendships, tragedies, and, meeting that significant other, having a family, getting a job. Like, all of this is sort of like, of course we can't put all of that in the video, but like it's meant to like give you a little life flash before your eyes. And it was really like, when I heard the idea, I was like, that's great, man. It's going to be really hard to do. And Brian Bichette, the director, he did a great job. I was like, man, that's a thin line of like cheesy, too much sap, too much crying, where, you actually kind of like feel for it. Like, it's hard to do these days on the internet. People are so cynical. But to get people to really respond to that Let's Ride video and have moms saying, I love that video, I watched it, like my kid showed it to me, like it gets me a little verklempt, when the kid is like gets pushed down on the bench and then he thinks about it for a second and he runs and pushes the bully, like, yes, you cheer and you just like want to go, yeah, that's MXPX right there. Like that's not just us, it's you.
Well, the song's very hopeful. Like, I think that's what's also great about it, is that, I mean, there is some melancholy to it. Like the line, there I was at 29, I can't believe I'm still alive. Like, it's wistful, but also hopeful at the same time. And I think that's something that a lot of people can latch onto. And that is definitely, I mean, I remember being 16, 17, listening to MXPX, Discman, headphones, walking down high school, hating high school. But that band always felt like it gave me something to think about, something to look forward to. I could get lost between the headphones and I could listen to a band that felt like they understood like what it was like to be a teenager at that time. And this kind of feels the same way, but about looking back at life in general. Nice. Looking back at like life as a whole and seeing what that looks like. I don't know. I think that's a special song on the album, in my opinion.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. And I was blown away by the reaction, and I knew that it was going to be a good time when we released this record after the first single dropped and the video and everything was what can you say? Like, it's all I've ever wanted. It's like the ultimate dopamine rush, like getting like 100,000 likes on a tweet or something. Like, that's what it felt like to get, the feedback and just to get the love from the video. Yeah. And the single.
Were you nervous after the expectations of the Kickstarter? The Kickstarter blew away, I think, a lot of people's expectations about how many people signed up and were donating to that. Did you feel extra pressure on this album and putting the first song out because of how many people and all your fans rallied around to make this album happen?
Not at all. No. I mean, that's the thing. Is like I was worried before the Kickstarter.
Okay.
But once we did the Kickstarter, we had already recorded the record. The record was done. It wasn't done. It was still being mixed and stuff like that. But like we were done tracking. Like my singing was done, writing was done, and that's really the only time not the only time I get nervous, but like that was what I was nervous about. I feel good about these songs. Like, yeah, sure, some people are gonna say that it's not a great record or whatever, but like, I feel personally we've made our best work in my whole entire career.
Okay.
On top of Life in General, on top of Slowly Going the Way of the Buffalo, this is the best record we've ever done, and it'll probably remain that way. It'll be hard to beat for me, you know. I'm gonna take me another 8 years or 6 years or something, but that's the thing is like, you can't. I don't think of life like that. It's just like I'm working on this now. This is the best thing I've ever done, and there's a lot of, like you were asking, there's a lot of reasons for that. But I allowed myself time to write and time to rewrite and time to choose the right songs. You know, like it was pretty clear. There was a few songs we left off this record that just weren't right. They weren't right for the record, but are probably great songs. But
do you think that having that time between the last album and this one to do other things, you've obviously gone around playing shows with Goldfinger, Feldman, and all of that sort of stuff. You did some side projects. You did other things like that. Do you think that experience led to this feeling like the best album that you've done? Or what other things in your life led to this feeling so monumental with a discography like you guys have? You've had songs played in Super Bowl commercials. You've had songs, do well on radio. Why does this one feel different to you, or feel so much more special, I guess?
Well, I guess because, one, everybody thought we were gone. Everybody thought, one, nobody releases good music in 2018. That's for sure. Or, in this decade, and what I mean by that is no pop punk band releases good, like in our genre. Yeah. And it's hard to make good records. I mean, Green Day makes good records, but it's like, it's really hard to like push past their great stuff, right? Yeah. And so you need time, you need that space, like the 76ers in Philly, like trust the process. Like, and that's what I did. Like, trusted the process. When I was sitting around feeling like I wasn't doing much, wasn't writing much, I was thinking. And it's weird how we don't feel like we're getting something done in this life unless we're actually working and exerting effort. And but what I realized is I needed to actually have that space, that time to think about what I've been doing and write it down. And that leads to songs. When I'm at the gym, I'll be working out, and then I'll be getting yelled at, like, "Hey, get off your phone," by like my buddy, and I'm like, "Hold on, I'm writing. I got an idea. I just have to write this down because like later on I'll forget." And then when I go to write songs, I'll have like lines or a song idea, and I'll be like, "I'm gonna write that. That's amazing. Okay, forgot about that." That's not usually what I say. That's amazing, but
that's really, really good. So, are you Ben Simmons or Joel Embiid in this analogy? Or are you going to be like Sam Hinkie and you put it all together from up top?
I don't know who any of those people.
You don't know any of the Philadelphia 76ers. You make the trust the process joke, and then I try to come way over the top.
Are you talking about Bill? Bill Simmons. I got you.
All right. So from there, we're going.
My friends tell me to trust the process.
We go into Uptown Streets. This one to me has a little bit more of like an Americana vibe to it, at least in the chorus. I'm curious where this one came from. Is this an early writing one that kind of reminds me of Tumble Down a little bit? Of any of the songs on here, this one has a little bit more of that vibe than some of the others. I think that's in the chorus. That's where I get it. So I'm curious where this song started from and if there's a story behind it.
Sure. I actually wrote this song, I want to say, I got the cover here. This song was written either second to last or last in the process, and it was written in the studio while we were recording. So they were working on drums or doing something where I didn't need to be there. I was downstairs in the basement writing, and yeah, I guess it's got a little tumble down vibe to it. I mean, I wrote it. I write tumble down songs. I write MXPX songs. So yeah, that makes sense. We didn't want it. We wanted it to be more of like an AC/DC rock and roll song.
It's got that, yeah.
And then I think the harmonies on the chorus make it sound a little more Americana because it's so pretty. But for me, it was a summertime childhood song. Like, it was a nostalgia song. It was like remembering growing up in the summer, driving around Bremerton. Up the uptown streets. Everybody has an uptown area in their city, or not everybody, but a lot of people. Yeah. We do as well. And it's just right downtown, but it's like the next street over, and they call it Uptown. So it's just funny because, I mean, back in the day, we used to cruise and try to pick up chicks and do, what everybody used to do. When we were recording records in Hollywood, that was still a thing where people would cruise Sunset Strip, Hollywood Boulevard, all of that. And like, I don't know if that probably is still going on, but I just haven't been around for it. So like,
now they're on Snapchat stuff now.
So it's a car song. It's a cruising song. It's meant for you to just put it on, turn it, like, rev the engine, put it in gear, hit the gas, cruise, nice summer day, get the windows down.
That's the whole album has that sort of vibe to it, though. Like, it doesn't really let down through all 11 songs. Was that intentional? Like, did you have big ballads that you kept off the album, or was from from the yeah, you got a couple of those?
There's a couple of ballads that did not make the record, I'll tell
you. So was it intentional to keep the pedal down the entire time through this thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just one of those things where you can do wrong. Like, you can screw up. And so we felt like, what are people ready for? What are we ready for? What do we want to play? If we're going to play this every song on the record all the way through live, are we going to be bummed when we get to this song? So that was our intention with this record. It wasn't like no ballads. Like, no, if we had the best ballad in the world, sure, it should probably go on the record.
Yeah.
But it was about having every song be strong and intentional and have a place. And I feel like it does. And that's why it's 11 songs. That's why you don't need 17 songs on a record. Just make a playlist.
Absolutely. From there we go to 2020 Hindsight. This is another fast-paced classic MXPX song. This beat, the drums here, really remind me of like the early 90s. Is that all Yuri just coming in and just doing his thing? Where did this one start? Did it start with that kind of beat, or did that get added later on in the writing process?
It was always fast, I think, if I remember correctly. This I rewrote quite a bit. I rewrote the chorus. I rewrote the pre-chorus.
Why?
It just wasn't good. It wasn't good enough. Wasn't good enough.
When you rewrite, are you saying you're rewriting lyrics, or are you rewriting melodies? Like, you're hearing it and being like, this needs to be completely different, or what's that look like?
It depends. It's just different. Yeah, sometimes I'll rewrite everything. This one I rewrote everything on the pre-chorus, and the lyrics, I don't think I even used the other lyrics for anything, or maybe it went to a different song. But sometimes, like, if you don't use a really good line or something, you just use it for something else later. Yeah. But yeah, 2020 Hindsight. By the way, quick note on this. I was like, we have to make, I wrote the song 2020 with 2020 vision. So I wanted there to be a slash in the song title. So it says 20, the number, and then /20 hindsight. And it kept getting corrected to like 20-20 hindsight. And I was like, why does it do that? That's so weird. And so, like, sure enough, if it has the backslash the way I meant it to be, the correct way, it actually screws up people's computers.
Oh, weird.
Because it wants to go to, like, if you have like a certain type of program or whatever, it wants to like it can't read that because it wants to go to a different folder. It's like telling it a computer command or something.
Doesn't
so
love
anyway,
the backslash.
so yeah, if you have use of a computer, just change that yourself. But all the new versions are corrected. All the ones you get like by the time you hear this are corrected. Just little things like that like. What are you going to do? It's like a computer world. Like back in the day, you didn't have to worry about computers. You just make your artwork.
Put it on a tape, write it down.
But anyway, 2020 hindsight was the drums fast that whole time. Like I said, I rewrote it. But yeah, I mean, Yuri, just like us all, like we get better as we go. We get better with the parts. He's tweaking parts. We're like, oh, we really like what you did there. He's like, what did I do there? And like, that kind of thing. Like, so I don't remember exactly, but Yuri he's an amazing drummer. Like you look at what he does and it's amazing. Like it is not easy. Like our songs are simple songs if you break them down into the chord progressions and stuff like that. Sure. But man, it's not easy to play those drums the way he does, and he kills it.
He's always felt underrated to me. Like other people have gotten more prestigious titles or whatever, and people throw other bands and other drummers into top lists or whatever. But I've always felt he's underrated for what he's able to do and the versatility he has for what your discography looks like. And he's able to play anything you toss at him, basically.
Yeah, so he's good.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's great.
Yeah, so I mean, the process is always really, really that much easier with Yuri because I feel like, okay, if Yuri's having a hard time, if it's not working out with Yuri's style or with what Yuri can do, the song probably isn't right. You know, like it's not an MXPX song. Maybe it's something else. So I feel like it's a great barometer for what is and isn't MXPX. And that starts with Yuri.
Do you have other things in your mind of when you hear something and you know whether or not it's an MXPX song? Like, do you hear stuff and just what other sort of like litmus tests do you have?
Yeah, there's something in my mind that just says this is MXPX and then this is Tumble Down or this is
Has it changed
Solo.
over the years? Like, would you hear like something from a past album now and think maybe that shouldn't have been an MXPX song?
That's possible.
Yeah, I'm just curious whether or not
like B-sides more, but I would say like all the ones we've done could still be MXPX songs. They're just not some of them aren't as good. You know?
Yeah. Would you want to change things? Like, do you have the tweaker mentality of like, okay, I'd like to go in and like change this a little bit now, or do you are you able to let it just be what it is?
That's a good question. Like, you know, it's weird because Kanye sort of like, okay, here's a new mix of my album or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it's like a living, breathing album. And in that respect, like, I'm okay with that. But I honestly, like, with our past albums, I just would rather put them to bed and like, people that like them, sure, enjoy it. People that don't, that's cool too. For me, I'm focused on right now, the present. I'm focused on getting people what they want, which is a happy life. And I think that's what MXPX does, is it makes people happy. And it, from time to time, makes people mad. But you can't please everybody. I've tried. It doesn't work.
Oh, man, I remember those days. I remember the days when everyone thought you guys were selling out. I'm very mad online about it.
I know. And, you know, it's funny because, like, I took that stuff way too seriously. I gave it too much air, too much breath. And what I really should have realized is life is good. You can't please everybody. And also what you say, people pay attention to and will take as gospel. So don't make jokes because you're not funny. You know, like I would joke about something and people would take it seriously. So,
well, yeah. Leading into some of that, I feel like the way we do talks a lot about the band's history. I mean, there's a lot of little band call outs here. You've got Freezing Balls Across Canada with Simple Plan. Face to Face, I think, is called out. Bad Religion, a bunch of other stuff. Is this talking about, obviously, the history with the band, but why a song about this? Like, what led to this one?
It's a good question. I think I might have written this in Texas. I wrote 2020 Hindsight in Texas on one of my breaks when I was in Waco. So like this one was another one that was sort of like I wrote in the middle of the process, the middle of the year-long process or so. Well, to be honest, like this is a song that I wrote because we were doing so many cool things now.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, this is the way we do. This is what I live for. Like doing the shows that we're selling out with the guys, doing this self-titled record, like doing it all DIY on our own, doing the live record on our own and having it sell out in a couple hours, all the vinyl, like with Left Coast Live, like that kind of, those big milestones in the last couple of years kind of like led me to think about like all my past times, all the good times that stuck out to me. So that's what the way we do is about, is looking back on the good times and realizing, wow, that led to this now. This song, not only this song, but this entire like culture of people and songs and shows and other bands that we tour with, that we're friends with. Like it's been amazing. And that's what the way we do is about. It's like sort of acknowledging, tipping the hat to all our friends and fans over the years, and our team right now that's helping us really work hard. We've got a great road crew. We got a great local crew here in the studio. So it's been amazing.
Yeah, I mean, the note I wrote here was that it feels like the theme of the album and like this moment for the band distilled into a song that talks about the past, but also about becoming who you are now. So, I mean, that's basically exactly what you said. And I think that comes through in the song, which is awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah,
it's a selfish song. It's a song about us, but it's like, you can't do that every song.
Do you worry about writing those songs? Do you worry about writing the like road song where it's like, oh, we're on a tour bus again, and that fans check out because they can't relate to it? Like
I do worry about. I don't want to do too much of that, but they're fun. They're so fun for us because it's like it's going down memory lane. So I think it's okay to do once, twice. These are two different styles of songs with Rolling Strong and The Way We Do. They're about different things. The Way We Do is about a much more broader picture.
Yeah.
Rolling Strong is about, dude, we're just grinding, but here we are. Let's go. And you
get to work freezing balls into a lyric, which is incredible.
Yes. I'm not the best lyricist, man. I got this one brain.
It's amazing. From there, we go into Life Goals, which one of my favorites on the album. I love that little guitar riff. I love like that it reminds me again of like the early 90s skate punk, going out. Feel like I need to go grab I don't have a skateboard, and I feel like I need to get a skateboard just to listen to this song. It's been way too long. I love that little chorus. Feels like it should be an Instagram chorus. That's good to have life goals. Where did this one come from? What's the inspiration here?
This one, I had just like the main verse idea for a little while, and I was like, that's a really cool idea. Like, I gotta write something cool, And so I don't know, man. Like it's all a blur when I write, and then like later on when I think about writing, like there's not a whole lot of memory to it. It's just literally like ideas, and I like people to kind of take away, especially songs like this, their own thing from it, because there is a lot of metaphor. There's a lot of broad ideas and a lot of struggles. We go through these struggles every day, but it looks like we're just having the best time ever because you're looking on your socials and all that. So I think it's good to have life goals, but understand that we're all just in that trench struggling, and just lift each other up.
Does it intentionally precede Pipe Dreams, which seems to kind of play with the same ideas, but almost in a different way? That one's got a little bit more of a political theme to it, but like the main line to it is, hold on to those pipe dreams. If I'm wrong, the worst is already happening. Like it feels like it plays with life goals, but in a different way.
Yeah, it's absolutely right after that because it fits so well thematically. The first one's obviously like you got to set your life goals. Things are going to be like coming at you real fast. Let's go. And then, with Pipe Dreams, it's like, things are really crazy, like still. And it's sort of like the ship's going down. Let's pull up. Because if you have something to look forward to, that's all you need in this life. Honestly, like things are simple, it's all about getting your own self and your family taken care of, really. And so like I think it's not what that song is about necessarily, but like it goes to a broader idea of each person listening in their lives. Like, what is it that they're struggling with? Like, I'm building the skyline and wondering where my supplies went. It's like, dude, I'm trying to do this work and there's just no good, you can't get anything done around here. You know, like that's the sentiment, whether it's political, whether it's in your personal life with your, you know, struggling to pay your bills, with your job, with your kids, you know, not sleeping at night, or your kid's sick again. Like, it's just like, that's what I'm talking about. It's everything.
Pipe Dreams felt to me, out of probably the other songs, maybe the most like 2018. Like, it feels like of this moment specifically. Maybe that's because I spend way too much time all day rolling through Twitter and hating everything.
Of course, verse 2 will tell you it's about 2018. I'll tell you.
What's the recorded sample in this one? It sounds like there's something in the background behind. Is it
it's me.
Okay.
It's just it's me talking.
Just talking.
Saying good things.
Is it meant to be underneath the mix? So it's meant
that no one knows. No one knows what I'm saying, but you're supposed to get a good feeling because it's subliminal, positive vibes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. I like that. I think that's a nice thing to have there. I was curious. I kept trying to figure out if I could tweak anything to hear exactly what's going on down there.
Yeah. I don't think you'll ever. I mean, maybe somebody can somehow get it, but.
Then we go into Disaster. I'm such a disaster for you, which is the main callback in this song. Is this a love song? Is this an anti-love song?
This is a love song.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a love song.
And where does this come from? Where does the idea of being a disaster for somebody and loving them come from?
I just wrote this about my wife. I mean, you know, it's just based on memories and how we got to, you know, how we not got together, but it was like memories of us being married, but before we had kids. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Like, I think it's very personal as far as like lyrically, like it's true. It's like everything I talk about is true in some ways. Just like the way I write lyrics, it's like, that sounds so weird. Like, what are you talking about? But it's just because I have a memory in my head, and so that's a little snippet of the memory. But I think anybody can kind of get good vibes from it, you know, for their relationship.
That makes sense. Absolutely. All right. So you talked about Tom loving Rolling Strong, basically from the get-go. Were there other songs on the album before we get to the last one that the band was like, first time they heard it, or once you guys put it together, we're like, yeah, that one. That one's really good. Any other songs that stuck out?
Yeah, I mean, Disaster, for one, is one of Tom's favorites. He wanted that song to be like 5th or something like up on the record. I was like, no, too soon for that. I like the song, but it's not ready. You know, like there's a I don't know, there's just like a time you need to hear certain things, and but that's, you know, that's, like I said, the process, right? Bill Simmons, he talks about the process a lot. That's okay. I got you. So as far as like other songs that like everybody was super into, Let's Ride. That was always one that everybody really liked, and it felt good. And so like when we were gonna do the video and the single for that, everybody was really happy. They're like, yes, okay. There was never like, oh no, are you sure that should be, you know, the first song? Like, no. It was like, rad. Okay, cool. A band personal favorite that probably won't be fans' favorite is Uptown Streets. Okay. Everybody loves that song because it's just so fun to play and sing. But yeah, I don't know if it'll be a favorite or not. Makes
sense. So speaking about that and the intentionality behind first and last tracks, moments like this ends the album. Was that always going to be the ender? Did you know that was the final track for a while?
Pretty early on, and we didn't do any too much thought into first song, last song until after everything was recorded. But yeah, listening back,
it feels like this
feels like a last song. Like, how do you go into something else after that? Like what? Like, you can roll right into Rolling Strong again, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, we're doing this again. Yeah. But like, if you're going into another song that you haven't heard yet, for me, that's the most personal song on the record. It's about, obviously, death and life and memories and everything. But like, you know, my hope is that people get good vibes and good, obviously it's a sad song, but good feelings from it.
Do you find yourself writing more about that now? Like, there's a couple times where you touch on growing older, life.
I'm old. What are you gonna do?
Not that old, man. Not
that old.
You just feel old because you started a band in 15, 14.
Yeah. I mean, that's the funny thing is like I
had like three careers.
I don't have much experience in high school anymore. Like I remember high school, but like I'm not gonna really write about it. I can write about it in a general term, like teenagers. Like I mentioned that on like The Way We Do. That's more just in passing, but yeah, honestly, I feel like I'm gonna write what like hits me the hardest. And that song hit me hard, man. I think I cried. Okay, I'll admit it. I cried while I wrote that song. Like not the whole time, but like on certain parts. Like after like writing it and like writing it down and singing back through it, like it was like, what the, like. Yeah. I'm sure there's some like voice memo on my phone of me writing parts and like. Choking up trying to get through it, because like all I think about is my kids, my family, my wife, my parents, and just like someday we're all gonna be dead. It's gone. We're done. See ya.
Have they heard the song? Like, does it affect them in a similar way?
They've heard the song. My family.
Yeah.
They've heard the song. My daughter, her favorite song is Friday Tonight, so she loves that song.
Running around the house singing that.
Yeah. So, but I think the kids are too young to really understand what's going on there. But like, I'm sure my wife is like, oh, it's hard to listen to.
Yeah. One day they're going to be teenagers, and then they're going to discover all these albums and have so much more to go. Learn about Dad.
Yeah, they've been listening to Daddy PX. That's what my son Rhodes says. He's 2, and he Daddy PX, play Daddy PX.
That's amazing.
And he just dances and loves it. Yeah.
Do they have favorite albums?
They don't know albums, but favorite is Responsibility. That's definitely their favorite. And then the new one, All of It, and Friday Tonight.
Awesome. That's really funny.
And of course, Let's Ride is also. But it's just, I'm just excited. The record's out. You can hear it everywhere. We're streaming it all over the world, and so as far as I'm concerned, like, sure, go enjoy all the albums, but please check out the new record. Let me know what you think.
Absolutely. So I want to know about this process of now just deciding, like, on a Tuesday, which albums don't get released on Tuesday anymore. So like,
right.
What was the thought process behind just being like, we want to drop it today. We're not going to wait till Friday. I mean, you're basically giving up the idea of streaming or charting or anything like that. This feels such a for the fans kind of release. Why?
Yeah. I mean, charting, what does it really matter? It's more about the fans for us anyway. Like, we knew that, one, we wanted to have a little buffer between when we released the record and when we were doing the show, so because we're so busy with the show Friday. Yeah. So that's one reason why we released Tuesday, but we practice Tuesdays. That's our day to practice. And so we're just like, you know what? We get together for practice. Let's just play the full record live. And then we release the record that night. Boom.
Simple. Easy.
and that decision was made probably like 3 weeks before we did it. So we didn't know we were releasing the record on Tuesday, until then. But we knew we were going to release a few different days. We had days picked out, like either this date, this date, this date, and Tuesday was one of those. We did talk about, do we care about the charting? Do we care about SoundScan? And we're like, ultimately, we care more about releasing this on the day we want and doing the rollout that we want. And so, like, boom, when you live your life like that, decisions get a lot easier, and you don't regret it. It's like, who cares? Like, we made a record. It's there. Whether or not it's recognized by SoundScan or by charts or whatever, that, whatever. We're proud of this one. This is the record we wanted to make. We're not great designers or tech people. You can just go listen to the music wherever you find it. MXPX.com is the best place. But like, we're musicians, man, and we've been doing this a long time, and it feels good to know that hard work pays off.
Well, it feels like the entire career culminates in being able to do something like this. I mean, you guys have been on a variety of different labels, from smaller indies to the big major label conglomerates.
Yeah.
And you've seen kind of how it's done different ways and what works. And from what I'd heard, that you guys had maybe talked a little bit to potentially working with some labels, but never felt like you got the right vibe with this album, and you didn't want to just be a legacy act. You didn't want them to just market you like every other pop punk band that's still putting music out in 2018 gets marketed. And this feels very you, but also very different than what some of these other bands that you guys were peers with are doing these days. And it's just, you got what has this process taught you about that?
Well, we really felt like, sure, there's some labels that could be cool, but nobody's gonna get our story right except us, and we don't even get our story right half the time. Like, I'm terrible at talking, but we put everything we had into this. We're proud of it. It's not about the past. It's not about what we've done. It is a little bit. It's about what we've built upon. But we felt like, okay, if we're gonna like focus on what we're doing these last couple of years, all the shows, Tom and Yuri coming back, Chris Adkins being a great addition, we need to tell the story ourselves, and that's ultimately why we decided to crowdfund, because we're like, hey, that's the way of the future, crowdfunding. If you want something, you go and you contribute to it and you get it. If you want to just stream it later, that's cool too. Stream it, go for it. Like, we're here, we're gonna keep doing some shows here and there, but like, I feel like everything's going to change. 2018 is just like a jumping off point to do something different, I feel good about it.
Would you do this again? Would you do the same sort of thing if the opportunity presents itself and the band's feeling it and you guys have a good vibe with some new songs?
I think we would crowdfund again. I think we would do it better. I mean, we've learned so much by doing it the first time, and you know how we do. We kind of just jump in with both feet. We fail a lot. We figure it out. And we apologize when we're wrong, but we did it. And out of like the 4,000 plus backers we've really only had like a handful of people, like a very small percentage of people that were either mad about their order, didn't get an email, or like the download. So like, we're still working through a lot of that stuff, but like, it's been going great. And so I feel like, yes, we would do it. But I need a little time because, man, it's been a lot of work, Jason.
Absolutely, man. My God, it seems crazy. And plus, the moment you start doing that and you're taking money and then you have that expectation from the fans and you want to make sure you don't let them down.
That's the only way I get anything done is like I say I'm going to do it, or I take money for a ticket for a show, and it's like, okay, I have to be there.
I have to do it now.
Yeah. We got Texas coming up. Of course, these shows are coming up real quick. Friday, Saturday, Seattle, Portland. That's July 27, 28. So I don't, this is airing soon, but people will be listening to this forever, I'm sure. Yeah. And then Texas, we're going to be September 7 and 8. So MXPX.com is the place to get all the tickets and all that. We've been trying to like just use the website as our main hub for everything.
It's good. I mean, that again, like with the album itself, which I kind of feel like it has the throwback to old sounds, but it feels new, it feels unique. And again, with the website, this day everybody's on Facebook, everybody's on Twitter using all of that stuff. Bands have lost that. I mean, I remember going to MXPX.com as a kid all the time. I used to check that out constantly. Every time it was updated. I remember you guys as webmaster for a while. I used to talk to him on AIM and just be like, oh, what's going on? What's their new album going to be called? I think he was the first one that told me it was going to be called The Ever Passing Moment. And I was just like, oh, this is amazing. I'm so excited about this. So I like that bands are using their websites and trying to create a community with their fans again in a way that's not just Instagram and posting selfies and doing all of that stuff. I know that stuff, but I'm too old for that now.
Yeah, it's been amazing. It's been so cool to see all the new content, the memes, the sharing of our content. Like, it's weird to say content. Like, I sound like a douche. I mean, it's funny is like I could never make it in a corporate setting because like the way we do business, sure, I'm working all the time, but like I have such a free setting. Like, I'm on my phone and I post stuff, or like I got to get management or somebody else like a picture or something, but like it's not that it's hard work, but it's like it's pretty cool because we get to interact with our friends. You know, like I'm talking like texting with Tom Chichila, making jokes. He's making fun of me. I'm making fun of him. Like that's kind of how we roll. And I'm sure that happens in an office setting, but having to get up early, man, that would be rough.
No,
It'd be rough for me.
Same way. That's why I was like, yeah, can we do this at noon?
The creative lifestyle. I mean, that's the thing is like there's so much more acknowledgement that creative lifestyles can work for you. You know, people becoming social media managers for big corporations, you know, big companies, allowing just your everyday person to go, okay, go ahead and do the social media for us. Do a good job. As long as you do good, you're good. People learn that from being on Instagram all day. Anyway, let's get back. We'll get back into.
Could you go back to your younger self when you first started the band and you guys were first getting like some record label attention and talking to Tooth and Nail, and tell the younger self that, hey, all these years from now, 20-something years later, you're going to be DIYing an album and potentially having as much fun as you've ever had making music? Do you think that you would believe yourself, like the high school kid? You think you'd be like, oh, like, wouldn't it? I don't know. I guess what I'm coming at is the idea of being a kid in high school and hearing about like I've got a record deal coming, or like these labels are talking to me. That seemed like such a huge goal to at least all my friends when we were in high school and stuff like that. And then to know that the entire industry had a boom and then fell apart and is now something completely different. I don't think I would understand what that even looked like when I was 15.
I don't even, you know, I don't really think that far ahead, and I definitely didn't at 15. You know, it's funny because like we've come so far, and people remember us kind of like the way when they first heard it, you know. Mm-hmm. So like for me, I remember now, you know.
Yeah. So
like it's so weird. Yeah, I definitely didn't think too far ahead, and honestly, like when I would just. The reason why we got so far is because I would just put it in my mind, and we would do it. Mm-hmm. And we didn't know how to do it. We were just like, okay, we got to find this poor old new band is coming to Port Orchard. Let's go to there. Let's give them our tape. Maybe they'll let us open for them. We go there. We give them their tape. They're like, dude, come open for us next time. Like that kind of thing. Like. Yeah. It worked, and that is what led us to, little did we know, getting signed with Tooth and Nail later. Mm-hmm. But things like that, we'd do our own shows. We would do like, and it started that way, and it's still like that today, just in completely new ways. Yeah. Where you have an idea, you think of it, you talk it out, you go, we've never done this. Well, let's try it. You know, so people have done the crowdsource thing. We hadn't necessarily, but we're like, let's try it. Let's do our version of that. So. Yeah, to be honest, I did not think that far ahead when I was a kid, and I still don't think that far ahead. I might think about it, and then it passes from my mind, and I go do what I'm doing.
Well, it seems like given this, it'd be a lot easier to convince everyone like this is something to continue to keep doing. Like, I mean, I feel like this album also can bring in new fans, which is cool. Like, that's something that to do this far into a career is exciting. But given that Tom and Yuri also have other jobs that they're doing and you're doing other things, like, is it hard to try to figure out when to make this mesh and when to be able to do MXPX related things?
It's not that hard. I mean, it actually is easier because of that, because we have a limited schedule. So we're like, okay, well, we can do this much, and then everything else, that leaves room for all the other things that I'm doing, Goldfinger, solo stuff, West Side, Legionnaire. Like, so, I mean, it's there's always too much to do, to be honest. So I'd rather do more quality MXPX and less quantity. And I feel like that's what we're doing with this record. You know, that's why it's 11 tracks. It's what it needs to be.
You ever felt like working with John Feldman on something, like recording him working on an MXPX song, recording MXPX song, or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, sure, why not? But that's the thing.
He's doing all the new pop punk bands. He seems like he's got his finger in everything these days.
Yeah, John is great. He's an amazing songwriter. But the thing is like, I'm 41 years old. I've written I don't know how many songs.
A lot.
He's gonna rewrite my song, and if I want that, then I'm gonna work with him. But like, John writes songs. Like, he's a producer that will write rewrite the song, change it up, do this, let's try this, da, 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 da. And so like, sure, if we want to do that, I will absolutely do that. And if I was starting like a brand new band or something and didn't know what I sounded like and I wanted it to sound like his records sound, yes, I would absolutely work with him because I love John. He's great. But this record could have been made had it been produced by somebody else, anybody else, including John. It was produced by MXPX. It was our team. It was us. It was me writing, and the songs changed because we changed them, not because somebody else. Yeah, so, man, that feels so good. It feels so good to say. It feels so good to realize that, like, nobody touched our shit. It's so good.
It feels so much more organic to be able to do something like that.
I hope it feels that way when you listen. I mean, I know we just keep talking about it, but, like, all I could do is just let it speak for itself or not speak for itself. Maybe it's all talk and it's my story and I'm just trying to make people think that it's organic and better than everything. But like, this is the only way to make a record. Like I was talking to Ryan Holiday. He wrote a book called Perennial Seller.
Yes.
And there's a blurb about it in the book. It's about us, and it's about the era when Yuri was about to quit and things weren't good. And he saw us at our low point. And the funny thing is there's no chapter, like you turn the page, there's no chapter where it says, oh, but we came back, made a new record, started selling out tons of shows, figured out how to market ourselves, figured out how to reach our audience again, and figured out what mattered to us, and made the best record of our career, and made a record that could possibly be a perennial seller. And I was inspired by that book just as much to make something that lasts, something that's worth listening to. And I just wish that this ending to the story could be part of that book, because it's such a great story. It's a great book, by the way, but we didn't get to tell the end of our story in it. So,
well, at least now you get to write the end of your story. Like, you guys get to continue doing things, and like, that's the end of the story. It doesn't have to be in the book to become that, which is...
You're absolutely right. The story isn't over. The story's still going. We're still working. We're still in love with the music. We're in love with the scene. We love seeing people come out to the shows, and just seeing the community online. It's been amazing. And you had a big part of starting that way back in the day.
Talking about crappy punk rock online, man. Never thought that was going to happen.
Well, thank you so much, man. I appreciate the conversation.
It's been a lot of fun. The last thing I want to talk about, and we can call it a day, is the album being self-titled. This far into a career, self-titling an album. When bands do that, it's always a statement. Like, that's always they coming out and saying, this is who we are, this is what we are. Had you thought about doing this before? Were there any other albums that at the time you thought maybe it's time to do a self-titled album, or has that ever come up?
Great question. It had come up a few times before, but it had never been serious. We're like, nah. It was never a serious. It always comes up every time. Like, is this a self-titled? No, let's keep working on the title. This one we had obviously a ton of ideas, some we liked, none of which ever clicked for everyone. Okay. And I feel like at the end of the day, it felt right to be self-titled. It was like album number 10. It's 25, 26 26 years into our career, whatever it is. Like, it's maybe our last album, but you never know when we're this old, right? So like, you're dealing with other things other than just our whims. You're dealing with personal lives and health issues and like whatever it is, time. So like, you just never know. And I felt like, okay, I feel good about calling this the definitive self-titled album. This is MXPX. This is us. This is the record we wanted to make. It's perfect. For better or worse. Yeah. We're married to it.
It's already out. You can't change it now. So that's awesome. You guys have been inspirational to so many different people and obviously so many different bands. There's bands that are still coming out today that I talk to and are like, man, like I started reading your website back in the day and listening to MXPX, and now I'm making music. And I don't know, I think that, like, I don't mean this in like a slight, but I feel like MXPX has gotten lost in like the history of like what pop punk in that world was. Like, people remember Green Day people think about Blink-182, but I think like it's time that people start like putting MXPX back on that like that pedestal with all of those bands, because what that era was from what 96 through 2004, 2005, like you guys were a big part of it. And I think it's really exciting to see a band in 2018 not have lost anything of what made them special then and be able to make an album now. Because I listen to a lot of pop punk bands that are still doing some stuff and still releasing albums, and they don't grab me the way this album did, with the energy and the excitement behind it. So I mean, I just wanted to say like that's exciting, and I hope that you guys continue to make music, because I think that story, as you said, ended in a book, but I think there's more to it, and I think that a lot of people would benefit from hearing your past albums and hopefully more present and future albums as well. Like, I think that's important, especially in our today in 2018, and what the message behind what MXPX has always kind of had. And like, as you talked about, the hopefulness and the feeling good in the moment, like that has been a theme throughout the band's career. And we kind of need that a little bit more now than we've needed in a while. So I think that this is a great time for new MXPX music.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I hope that if this record doesn't do it, I don't know what will, because this is we put everything into this record and our whole hearts into it. So I know what you're saying. You know, we're definitely a more underground type punk band. It's just due to the fact that we've been DIY for so long. We don't go through the regular traditional music channels, the music promotion channels, all of that. Like we're out here communicating to our fans, and like I said, you can't please everybody, but you know what? We're going to continue to try. We're going to continue. We're going to keep going, and we're going to piss some people off along the way, and that's the way, you know, that's us. That's MXPX.
Awesome. That's
I appreciate it.
It's great. Anything else? You got anything else?
Dude, I just appreciate you taking the time to talk, and we're so excited about this new record, MXPX.com, for all good things. All right, so that's it, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning into the podcast. Jason Tate, thanks for interviewing me. Thanks for being my guest and a great host, to be honest. You were great. Thank you guys for listening. MXPX.com for tickets. Listen to the new record. I just want to say thank you so much for all the love, all the positivity that is outpouring from the new songs. It really means the world to me and to the rest of the band. We appreciate it. Team MXPX for life. Special love to Brian Buchelt, to Tom Chichila, and they're making it happen every day. And my mom, Michelle Herrera, she's still sending out orders. She's doing it hard. All right, she's doing it well. That's the quote. All right, I'm gonna leave you with that. Cheers.